Are you interested in why we sleep? I just read a book called Why We Sleep. Figured I'd talk to you guys about it because this thing was so interesting. It made me want to focus on my sleep so much more. So this is written by Matthew Walker, who is a PhD, and he is a sleep scientist. So he's not a doctor, he's not a sleep doctor, he's a sleep scientist, which means he's gonna do the experiments on humans, rats, whatever, to figure out like what's actually happening when you sleep. So there's so many different things that he talks about in this book. Just to give you guys an idea, he talks about caffeine, how that affects your body and how it affects your sleep, how long caffeine lasts in your body after you drink it after a certain amount of time, melatonin and how it might be good, might not be good for you. You can use it to help with jet lag, that type of stuff. So if you're interested in that, chapter 1's all about that. There's a defining and generating sleep, time dilation, and what we learned from a baby in 1952. So I read that a while back and I can't remember exactly what that study was, but that's just some of the ideas that they give. And I remember him talking about babies in the neonatal intensive unit, NICU, and he was saying that usually hospitals have like all these bright lights on them even while they're sleeping, and that is actually affecting their circadian rhythm. And there's certain hospitals that have started to dim the lights or darken the lights or put a cover over the unit, over the baby's cradle thing, and it actually helps them to get deeper sleep. And because they're getting that deeper sleep, they're actually recovering and getting out of the hospital faster than a baby who's constantly under bright lights. So that was one thing that I just found really interesting. It goes into like how we sleep as far as the REM cycles, the 4 stages of sleep, the deep sleep cycle, what's actually going on there. One really interesting aspect that he talked about to me is like whenever you're trying to, somebody did an experiment with rats, and they put them in a maze, and so they had electrodes, connected to them and whatnot, and they watched their brain activity while trying to go through this maze. After they were done, they put them to sleep, and they continued to watch their brain activity, and they were seeing the exact same patterns from the maze happening in their sleep, but at 10 to 20 times the speed. So the rat, while it's sleeping, is still trying to figure out what's going on in the maze. And so you take that down to the human level, and you think about whenever you're trying to learn something, like I'm learning drumming right now, or relearning drumming. So like, I'm playing beats, I keep getting stuck on something, and then, I go to sleep. Hopefully that sleep is helping me to process that even more so that I can get up the next day and I start playing. He actually talks about a guy who he met who plays piano. And the pianist said, man, I was having so much trouble playing this piece one night, and then I went to sleep, and then I woke up, and lo and behold, I could play it. And that type of stuff is what's really interesting. So the old adage of practice makes perfect, it's really practice plus sleep makes perfect, so that you can your brain has time to actually remember those things and store those memories. It's taking it out of the short-term memory and putting it into the long-term memory, which is a whole nother section of this book that he goes into. So there's like so many different things about sleep in here. Talking about the lack of sleep as well. The Guinness Book of World Records does not recognize the sleep deprivation record anymore, because they have found out that if you deprive humans of so much sleep, they could actually die from it. And you've probably gone a long time without sleep before. You feel terrible the next day. You don't feel good. So there's a reason why we sleep. Mother Nature put that there for a purpose. And scientists are like, literally right now, within this decade, are figuring out what is actually going on in the brain, and it's so interesting. He talks about heart attacks and the daylight savings time. So whenever there's whenever you have daylight savings time and you lose an hour, it's like a 24 or 21% increase in the number of heart attacks that happen that day. Whenever we gain an hour, there's a decrease of 20 to 24% in heart attacks. It's crazy, some of the things that I'd never thought about before that just deal with sleep. And so he goes into, what I really like is at the end of the book here, he gives you like this little list of things that you can do to get a better night's sleep. All this right here and all of this right here. He also talks about your circadian rhythm, because I didn't know this. Your circadian rhythm is based on chronotype, which is your genes. And so you're programmed from birth to either be a night owl or a morning person. And he talks about how the way society is set up right now, everyone's programmed to get up at 5 and leave, or get up at 9, be at work for 9 and be at work for 9, leave work at 5. You're on this 9 to 5. Everybody is programmed to the same time, and that actually doesn't work that well for a lot of people. Most people are not made to be a strict 9 to 5. They may be like a 11 to 7 type of person, or maybe even some are like really pushing it into the dark hours of the night. And so that was really interesting, and it kind of made me try to figure out when my chronotype is. And what I'm deciphering is that I'm about a 10 o'clock sleeper. I'd like to go to sleep at 10 o'clock, get about 7 to 8 hours worth of sleep, and then be ready to get the world going from there. But that was just another interesting tidbit that I picked up from him. And there's so much to talk about with this book, about sleeping pills and nightcaps and iPads and iPhones right before bed, lights that come into your eye and how that affects your circadian rhythm as far as blue lights and red lights and all that type of stuff. So I am going to definitely recommend this book. If you're trying to understand sleep, this is the guy to follow. He's actually done a lot of podcasts too, so if you're a podcast listener, just search his name, Matthew Walker, and you'll find plenty of podcast episodes that you can listen to. He does kind of repeat himself in a lot of them, so you don't have to really listen to them all because he says a lot of the same things. But highly recommend if you want the nitty gritty of it right here, like the sleep science and everything, with all of the what do you call that whenever you index all your sleep studies and everything, you have them all either in the bed, no, he footnotes them all. He has all of those in there, so you get all of the information. I'm gonna go and get this book. If you're interested in sleep, I'll link it up below. Thank y'all for watching. If you guys want to know more about how to enhance your sleep, there's a great book that I read called Superhuman by Dave Asprey. He actually had this guy on his podcast, and he talks about sleep in his book Superhuman, which I'm going to put right there on the screen. You guys go and click that video, or if YouTube thinks that this is the best video for you, click one of those two videos. I'll see y'all in those videos. Thank y'all for watching, and Dad out.